Most people think buying a business is about the numbers. Revenue, EBITDA, margins, debt service. But today's guest learned something different flying B-52 bombers for 13 years. The machine matters, but the team matters more. Derek went from mechanical engineering to business consulting to real estate to the Air Force to building businesses from scratch. And now he's looking to buy a business he can own for the long term. In this episode, we talk about why he's buying instead of starting, why culture is harder to measure but easier to destroy, why private equity often breaks good businesses, and why the best buyers don't walk in trying to change everything on day one. If you're thinking about buying a business, this conversation will change how you look at sellers, employees, and what actually makes a company worth owning.
A little bit of a non-traditional path. I started as a mechanical engineer, moved into business consulting, got into real estate, then joined the Air Force and became a bomber pilot, and then built a few businesses from scratch. I guess kind of what ties it all together is, I like kind of a disciplined, system-oriented approach. I like stepping into something complex, figuring out what's driving it, and then making it run better. And at this stage, I'm just looking for something long-term to pour into, something I can take ownership of and build over time. And also, my faith kind of shapes how I lead. So, servant leadership, taking care of people, operating with integrity, building something that has a real positive impact is important to me.
That's awesome. So you skipped through it real quick. So you said flying bombers. Tell me about that.
I joined the Air Force and got the opportunity to serve and learned to become a B-52 pilot and flew all around doing that mission. So
that's awesome. How long have you done that?
About 13 years.
You flew those things for 13 years?
Yep.
Wow. How does it feel to fly one of those things? I don't think most of us mortals can actually even imagine what it feels to fly one of those things.
That's a good question. It takes a lot of training to get there. But it's like anything, after, lots and lots of time and hours, you kind of build your expertise and things become second nature. But I mean, I guess high level flying, it's a bear. It's like old school. You're like wrestling the airplane. You got, throttles with 8 engines on it. So you have 8 different throttles. You're going like this. You have a full stack of gauges for each engine. So, and you have the old gauges, old dials, and so, we have 4 radios to listen to at the same time. So you kind of learn to take in a lot of information at one time. So it's really hard in the beginning, but over time you get trained into it. So how to, see everything at the same time, listen to everything, and kind of pick up the important pieces.
Oh, that's crazy. So a lot of input, and you develop that pattern recognition of what you need to pay attention to, and while you're staying focused on what's in front of you.
Yeah, a lot of things go in second nature, the sound in the engines, and it's, you just know. So if it gets quiet, you're like, wait, what's going on? Even if I'm not flying, I'm I might be the instructor in the back, and you just have that. You just pick up these things. How things should feel, how things should sound. And you kind of use that as your instinct to look for potential problems.
That's cool. So how many people are usually on those planes?
5 people. So
5. Okay.
We call them 2 offenders. So those are your weapons guys. You got 1 defender. He's trying to do all the jamming to keep you from getting shot down, and then 2 pilots are, putting the plane where it needs to go.
That's cool. That's really cool. So you're working as a team.
Definitely.
And that's cool. That's really cool. So why are you buying a business instead of starting one? You've started businesses before. Why are you buying one?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had a if there was something new that I needed to bring into the world, um, that didn't exist and I felt strongly about, for sure, I would start a business. But right now, I'm not chasing a new idea, so, I really I'm looking to step into something real that's already been built. And since I've built businesses from scratch, I know how much time and effort it takes. So, the opportunity to build on something that somebody has already built, it's been working, and maybe it took decades to build, and I can step from that place to take it forward. It's something something I take seriously, and I think it's amazing opportunity.
That makes sense. And so what kind of businesses are you looking for these days?
I'd say I'm looking for an established business that serves a real ongoing need and has built a strong reputation by doing so. What matters to me the most is kind of the quality of the business. Does it have a strong customer relationship? Does it have a solid team? Does it have a culture that people take pride in? I'm also focused on something, stable and proven that I can step into and grow over time.
So you don't have any like specific industries or specific like fields that you want to focus on?
Well, there's things that it has to fit my skill set and my interest. Fortunately for me, that's fairly broad. I've done everything: consulting, real estate, military aviation. So there's a lot of different businesses. There's a lot of businesses I won't look at, but
Yeah. Like what? What won't you look at?
anything that's like conflicting with my value system, basically.
Okay.
So there's just I think
No gambling for you.
no gambling for me. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I really think, does this business need to be here in the world?
Okay.
Is it serving the world in a positive way? So
Makes sense.
that piece is important to me.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so what happens on day one when you buy a business?
Well, I mean, on day one, my priority is to just learn and listen, right? So I want to understand the team, the customers, how the business actually runs. I'm stepping to something that's already successful. So my role is early on is to understand it and to support it, not to change it. See what they're doing right. The people that have been there, they've been doing it a lot longer than me, so I have a lot to learn from them. And then, it's supporting them, figuring out, hey, what pieces could help improve their lives, help them serve the customer more. What is the main thing of the business that we can focus on? And can I bring processes and tools and support and other resources to help them do their job better?
Yeah, makes sense. So how do you, and since you mentioned team employees, how do you think about employees?
I mean, I think the team is the business, right? My role is to support them, create clarity, what winning looks like, how we operate, what's expected. Um, but really, I'm putting the right systems in place to give the people what they need to succeed. Holding a high standard. But I think culture is super important. Like it affects every piece of the business, and it's in a way that you can't measure often. Um, it just has, I think, compounding downstream effects.
Well, so let's kind of double click on that. What's a good or healthy culture in your mind? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think a healthy culture is a culture that can have healthy disagreement, right? There's a high level of trust,
Yeah.
so people can be honest. I want my people to call me out on things and know that I'm not going to get defensive, and I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, you're giving me information to improve and
Yeah.
iterate, right? Because none of us is perfect, right? We're all flawed human beings, and that ability to like be honest in a safe way, iterate, and uh, focus on why we're there. I think you know I think trust is the most important thing in the culture. And how do you create trust with people? So you have to care about them. You have to know them, and they have to know that you care about them.
Yeah, makes sense. And you can't have truth seeking without trust. So
Right.
that's super, super important. So how do you evaluate a business?
I'd say I start with consistency. Is this a reliable business that performs over time? Then I look at quality, the reputation, the team, the customer relationships. How does the marketplace look at it? And then finally, whether I'm the right person, the fit. Am I the right person to step in, and and make it better? So I'd say that's high level how I look at it.
Nice. Okay. And what makes a business attractive to you?
Something that's durable. Really strong reputation with real demand, solid team, culture people care about. Um, it's something that's not dependent on one person and has room to improve.
Makes sense. And what would make you walk away from a deal?
I'd say the biggest thing for me is lack of alignment on values and integrity. If something doesn't feel honest, I don't want to move forward. I need to trust the seller, feel aligned with how the business is run. Because ultimately, I'm stepping into the team and the culture that they built. So it has to be a good alignment.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, I always say if you don't like the owner, you're not gonna like the team or the employee or the clients.
That's,
So and the suppliers for that matter.
that's right.
Yeah, so it doesn't. So it's all around. They attract people like them. So if you have people of integrity, they attract people of integrity all around. So what's your approach to growth after acquisition?
I'd say I'd start with the fundamentals, understanding what actually drives the business. I'd say most businesses have one or two key drivers, and over time, like business is pulled in too many directions, and so I want to focus on what really matters the most, and making sure that's executed at the most highest level. Um, you know, Once the core is strong, then you can build from there. But it's you got to look for the constraints. What is the constraint to this business, and focus on my energy on that piece. And that's what's great about working on the business instead of instead of working in the business where you're just kind of like trying to keep things alive and make things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
Uh, if you work on it, you're like, oh, this is our bottleneck, this is our constraint, and if I can ease this, then the whole thing flows better.
yeah. Love it.
Mhm.
What's one mistake that you see new buyers make?
I would say trying to change too much too quickly. The business worked before they showed up, right?
Yeah,
If you don't understand why it worked, you can easily break it. And I think there's a lot of like well-meaning people, and especially, right now you get private equity, and they just, they look at spreadsheets. They have no idea what culture means, and like, if you can't measure it, they don't care about it. But there's a lot of things that really drive a business that you can't measure. And then, there's really sharp young people that uh, you know, I was the same way when I was in my early 20s, right? Like, I thought I knew more than everybody else. It takes time to realize you know nothing. You have to sit there and learn and appreciate. Because the people there, they've been doing this for a lot longer than we have, right? So,
yeah,
yeah, there's a new look and the new skills we can take into it, but it's building after, you start taking away, losing key people, losing, buy-in. Yeah, it's, a business can unfold rapidly if that happens.
yeah. And I mean, there are a lot of things that may look odd or irrational or different than what you're used to, but they're there for a reason, and that's why that business has been around for that long, and that's why it's that's why you're buying it. So there's no reason to mess with what's working. So what makes a seller pick you? What would make a seller pick you over another buyer?
Yeah, I'd say, I'm not the right buyer for everybody, and I'm upfront about that, right? So if somebody's purely optimizing, they want the highest price, and they want to get out of there, there's better fits than me. Like, if the seller cares about what they built, their people, their culture, what happens after they leave, that's where we align. I'm a long-term operator. I'm not looking to flip the business. I'm looking to build upon it and grow it in the right way.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
and also a lot of times and a lot of the private equity companies that come and throw these high multiples at business owners, those a lot of times they come back and retrade during the transaction, and then a lot of times the seller regrets selling to them because they kind of ruined the business. The team isn't happy, the clients are unhappy, the reputation is not the same, and you know they a lot of times they don't get all that money cash. Just a lot of it you have to roll equity in, so they're stuck with the company. So it's not it's not all uh, great when you see that multiple and you think, oh my God, this is it. So
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a fantasy that when you're on the golf course, you can tell your buddies, yeah, I sold out the private equity.
yes.
But yeah, I mean,
Well, listen, I don't know if you saw the story, but there was an article about Mark Cuban regretting selling the Mavericks to the group that he sold it to. And he was super unhappy. And he literally said it on the podcast, said, I regret selling to these guys. Obviously, those guys were the ones who paid him the most money, and he was still had equity and he's still involved with them, but he was very unhappy.
yeah, and I've talked to many sellers who went through a PE process and they just got beat down. It took
Yeah.
forever, and really their business suffered because they were so involved in the process.
Yeah.
They wanted to exit the business, and it sounded all nice, but then they just got beat down, and then they're like, I got to rebuild my business so I can sell it again. And
Yes.
it's really tough.
It's crazy. It's happening. Like, it's literally just right now. I just got a call back from an owner of a roofing company nearby us. And he was talking to, he's been under contract with private equity for like 4 or 5 months, maybe even 6 months.
Mhm.
And they dragged him for long. They retraded him. He even said he was okay with the retrade. So he took less money, and they still canceled at the end.
Mhm.
And then now his business is suffering because he mentally had checked out, and he for 6 months he hasn't done the investments that he needed to do to be able to go into this year strong. So this year his numbers are much lower. His business is not worth what it was worth last year. So it's a big issue.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like for me, if I get an LI with a company, that's the only company I'm talking to, right? Like,
yeah,
these P companies, they're like, oh, I'll get an LI with you,
with everybody, yeah,
Yeah, we'll just, I'll get under the covers, see what's going on.
yeah,
And then, yeah, I'll pick this one, So it's, and plus now with AI, like these business owners are just getting slammed all the time, and they don't know who they're talking to because everybody's saying they're a private equity company, and half of these are lead generators, half of these are kicking the can, or they want to sell, flip the deal to somebody else.
yeah,
So I think that that goes in the trust, right? I need to
yes,
trust the seller, but the seller needs to trust me.
yeah.
And so that's where it's getting aligned on values, because it's if you're trying to get just the best price, well, you're also dealing with people that are only trying to work the financial side of the deal. So it can be challenging.
Yeah, they're buying with the spreadsheet. Yeah, they're buying. Yeah. So what would a business owner that's worked with you in the past say about you?
They would say, one, that I communicated clearly. I followed through on what I said. I was open about, where I was in the process. No surprises. I'm gonna do what I say, and I'm gonna be transparent throughout the way. If I have concerns about something, I'm gonna tell you I have concerns about this. It's a relationship. It's hey, I'm gonna treat you with respect, and I respect what you built, and this is where I'm at in the process. This is what the process is going to look like. Yeah, and
Nice.
I don't want to waste their time, right? They have a business to run, and if we're not the right fit, like the last thing I want them to do is hurt them in the future. So I don't want to leave anybody, worse than we started. So hopefully I can add some value, even if we don't work out, maybe I can give you some suggestions to help you out with the next person.
Nice. And I'm just a side question. Where are you right now?
I'm at Emerge. It's a conference that it's all the new technology that's coming out, AI and lots of different things. So I'm just trying to stay ahead of things and you know always kind of be on the top because obviously AI is affecting everything. So
Yeah.
I want to know what the limits of it is, what it can do, what it can't do. Yeah, just trying to stay.
Awesome. Awesome. I can't wait to hear after the event. So let me ask you this. How do you finance these deals?
So it depends. Fortunately, I've had some success, so I can bring my own capital to the table. But certainly, there's I have I also have a great network of people that believe in what I do and would like to support that with equity if I need it for the right deal. And I have some great bankers that I work with, and if it needs some debt or a line of credit, those are great resources for the deal. So it really depends on the deal itself, but trying to stack a capital stack, you say, in
Yeah.
a way that makes sense and ultimately serves the business, right? Um, you know, most of the time I wouldn't bring on other equity just because I'd have to make sure the alignment is there. I'm gonna buy a business and keep it forever potentially. So
Yeah.
there's it's so very careful about using other people's money, but
Yeah.
it would just
It
be
is. Yeah. It's that's also a big thing in terms of the timeline. If your timeline is long term and you don't have a 5-year mandate to exit, you're going to make decisions a lot different, and you're going to finance this business differently. You're going to hire differently. You're going to make decisions on projects differently. So that long term view is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you have a lot of investors and you have, if you're a PE company, you're expected to exit, right?
Yep.
It's very simple.
Yep.
You got to get your return. So, um,
Yeah, yeah, you have to exit, and the shorter the hold time, the higher the return to your investors and to you. So there's an incentive to exit fast,
that's right.
and then when you have an incentive to exit fast, you're making changes to the business. You're trying to financially engineer profitability into the business by cutting, and you might be cutting the wrong things, cutting the wrong people, cutting the wrong services, and for them, they don't care after who buys it, what happens to the business after it's sold, but you do. I mean, you're holding it a lot longer. You care about the clients, you care about the people, the team. So yeah, it's a completely different
Yeah,
game
that's right.
plan.
And you can do that. You can financially engineer and show good profitability for a year or two
Yeah.
before the impacts start
Yes.
settling in. Because
Exactly.
when you build trust, like people will kind of stay with you for a while, but after at some point, then they're like, okay, it's time to move on. And a lot of that engineering is like, oh, I'm gonna roll in a bunch of acquisitions. I don't care about the culture fit. Let's just shove it all together and make it work. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different model.
Yeah. So how do you ensure a smooth transition?
I think the number one piece of that is clear communication and alignment up front, right? So working closely with the seller and the team, not making unnecessary changes early. That goes from the beginning, like really getting to know the seller, really getting to know the business, and building that trust. this is, if you have if the seller trusts you, uh, it's for a reason, right? And the people that trust him are going to trust you, and you're going to be able to step into that trust because there's a reason why he trusts you. And there's a reason why they trust each other. So, uh, you know, it's, it's simple as, doing the right thing, having a humble attitude, being a learner, and, respecting other people. And I think that goes a long way.
Nice. So how involved do you plan to be in the business?
Very involved, right? So, this is like a fire hose of learning the business, building relationships, understanding how to operate. So like it's all in. Like there is no other thought in my mind except this business. Over time, my goal is build systems and a team, that can, run well. And so, I'm not doing everything myself, right? I can work on the business instead of in the business. But in the beginning, like there's no expectation of that. It's all in.
Nice. And so what's your timeline to buy?
I'm actively looking, and I'm ready to, close on a business as soon as I find the right business. So I'm patient on decisive, but I'm decisive when it's the right fit.
Nice. So so like final question is, why does owning business matter to you right now?
Yeah, it's about building something that matters, right? So creating opportunities for people, serving customers well, growing something over time. I want to build something I'm proud of, not just financially, but how it's run. It's how I can grow myself and also, serve in this world, in the community. And I think we're all given talents, and it's our job to use those talents the best we can.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a high level of meaning when you are serving, customers, clients, when you have a team that you're taking care of, that you're making sure that they're learning, growing, creating opportunities for them. I mean, it only hit me when I sold my company afterward. I'm like, dude, I miss this. I miss being in a business where obviously things change all the time. So you're constantly learning to adapt and to you're constantly looking to grow, but you're really sometimes just to survive, you have to adapt, you have to learn new things, you have to stay sharp. And then at the same time, you have a team that you're trying to steward and to take care of, and to keep a culture strong and train and coach and bring new talent that fit the culture. And so those two elements of learning and contributing to the team, to the clients, to supplier base, it's a lot of fun. And I mean, it definitely beats retirement.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the opportunity to own my time and not have to worry about working.
Yeah.
And I realized it's the wrong goal to have. A lot of people
Yeah.
have this goal, but yeah, it's not very fulfilling.
No.
It's we're creatures. We're meant to serve and build and be a part of something, and that's meaningful. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know one successful business owner that sold his business, went and sat on a beach for a while and didn't lose his mind.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, eventually, a lot of, so this is what happens a lot with business owners that we work with, is they eventually want to come back and, be on the sales side or the estimating side or the team training side, whatever. They usually pick a place. They're either like product people that like to design and estimate, or they're sales, oriented, or they're management oriented. And you always can, we have companies where the original founder and the second owner still work there after they've sold.
yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, when I talk to a seller, I'm like, what is your perfect goal? Like, obviously you want to exit, obviously you don't want to deal with all the headache, but if you could just, continue to do X,
Yeah.
it would just be fun for you. Like, what
Yeah.
would it be? And like, yeah, that's a perfect world if, he wants to contribute and still be a part of it some way. And, I mean, obviously if you get to a certain age, like it's time to move on, right? But it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, exactly. There are some situations where usually you got health reasons, or you get some situation where there's nothing. But yeah, but there are other situations where there's some flexibility. Sometimes people, like we had one guy in our group that bought a commercial roofing company where the owner moved out. Moved from, they were in New Jersey, they moved to Florida, and then after like a year came back. He says, "Oh, my wife didn't like Florida, so we're moving back." And then he's like, "Hey, can I just come and be like a general manager?" And I was like, "Of course." You know what I mean? And he contributed, and they doubled the size of that business. And he's happy as a clam. He's involved. He doesn't have the responsibility of day to day, but he's got a team, and he's back in his groove. So, yeah, it happens. Well, I appreciate Derek for taking the time. I'm gonna let you go back to your conference and learn everything about AI, and I can't wait to hear from you next week of what you found out.
yeah, well, I appreciate it, Jay, and I look forward to talking with you again. So
Awesome.
thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you. Have a good one.